Iran warns of preemptive action against Israel. Again, we just covered some of the most important stuff. We're going to actually highlight some of the other things that have just happened in the last 24 hours. But to sum it up, again, Iran warned Monday of a possible preemptive action against Israel in the coming hours as Israel readies for a ground offensive on the Strip. Not to mention, the U.S. has now deployed rapid response teams of at least 2,000 troops. So now the U.S. is getting involved. Those are also, of course, forces that can go in and drop in very, very, very fast. As far as regular troops, they can be sent over a ship over weeks. The rapid reforce team, they can get there even within half an hour or within 10 hours, again, depending on how they end up getting them there, whether they be from one of the ships that's already parked there or from somewhere else flying in by plane and dropping out of a C-130 or a Hercules. It says Tehran has repeatedly warned that ground invasion of the long-blockaded Gaza would be met with a response from other fronts, prompting fears that a wider conflict would come and would draw in other countries. The possibility of a preemptive action by the resistance axis is expected in the coming hours. So they are saying that this is in the coming hours right now. Iran's foreign minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian said in a live broadcast to state TV as he referred to his meeting with Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah on Saturday. Earlier Monday, of course, their top diplomat in Iran and President Ibrahim Raisi said that time was running out to reach a political solution and warned against the expansion of the Israel-Hamas conflict to other fronts, essentially saying that it would be chaos. Pretty crazy that other fronts are essentially saying if they do go in, then it will be on other fronts. As far as they are now saying that it is imminent that they are going to go in. Is something going to change? We will talk about that tonight on Marfoogle TV. We're going to cover all of the things that happened outside of this conflict as well, which there is a bunch of things that people are not talking about because they are obviously watching this one thing. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Thank you for all popping in. We have several folks that have already dropped into the chat. Thank you, Red Devil. We've got Katori, Dystopian Visions, Technicolor Tube, Hero. We got Susie Cat, Hopkinson in the house over on D-Live. Thank you. If you guys want to do a quick roll call, just a general state or province where you hail, you'll find other folks from your own state. It's always a great way to find something immediately in common. What's going on from Eastern Iowa, says Benjamin. What's going on, Taryn N? Hello, all. We've got B. Blake in the house. I don't know, or IDK. What is happening? We have, of course, Ohio. Nummy. James, Jonathan Floming. I won't say that name. I don't know why you would put that name on there. And then DFW Jackie, Danny Ram, Silo 13, Hopkinson. What is going on? Carl Pat Riot from Michigan, and we've got Annette from Texas, Poco Loco. Let's see here. New Mexico, Cowgirl Hippie Chick is here. Amarillo, Texas, T. Palomino, Twisted Luck Truth, Warming Planet, and of course, Ray Kaplan. Thank you guys. From Montana, Judy Van Dusson. Marlon Rando, love it. Momo and Christy Peterson from SeaTac, Washington. Nice to see some locals here. Domenico Luvera from Victoria, Australia. Beautiful. And then Kentucky and the Netherlands is in the house. Let's see here. And James Wright says, my son was just born. Hey, nice to see you, and congratulations. That's amazing. Great people here already. Joyful Gigi and Disaster Peace. What is happening? Says Semper Fi. And thank you for all of the folks that were ex or current military, especially for the last few weeks. You guys have been giving us awesome, great stuff. Thank you for all of the emails just today about everything that's going on. Thank you for giving us the heads up, because we were able to give the heads up to everybody else. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. And Patrick Powell and Quintus and everybody else, thank you. Remember, you can find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today over on the website, of course, marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go there, you will look for today's thumbnail. Of course, we just deployed U.S. forces. Then, of course, you will click on that show. And I'm sorry, click on enemy attack incoming. And then you will find a full source list of every article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today, plus a whole lot more. There's overflow/web content, all of the stuff that could not fit into the show, or the stuff that would get you in a fight in a bar over. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So there, by the way, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there was a comment. Just so you guys know how it works, and especially if you're new here, the time that this show is listed on, normally we give you about 15 minutes after that time for the chat to get in and for everybody to pop in. Notifications are slow with this platform. We've known them for 5 years. When I first started this, notifications would go out every single time you went live to every single person that was subscribed to you. Whether it was all, or they didn't have the bell system of all, some, this. It was, if they were subscribed to you, they would get notifications for every single thing. As YouTube grew, of course, you've got 1 million notifications in your phone. People complained about it, so I think they changed it, did whatever else. But they also, well, they changed it for that reason. They were also able to be like, maybe we just won't notify people of certain channels, or maybe we'll send out less than whatever. So there's theories, of course, of what really happens with all the notifications, but that is why we set up marfooglenews.com, and you can actually find notifications through us. So you can sign up for ours if you want to know exactly when we go live. But that first 15 minutes, I see people going, too much of a wait. I'm moving on. It's too long to wait. Personally, the thing with that is I think everybody is just literally like snap, snap, snap. I totally think that your time is valuable. We spend hours a day putting the show together, hours and hours, and we do not have a team. We don't have a full staff. We are not a billion, subscription channel. So we don't have the resources that CNN does. We don't have backups. I have 4 kids. So as far as like running this show, it's myself, Dex, and then our mods are all volunteers. They do an awesome job handling and helping with the community. But other than that, there is no like backup if I'm sick. There's no backup if I have immune problems. There's no backup if I go to the hospital. So again, that 15 minutes is so you guys can meet each other and talk. But it's never going to be on that time that we set. And we also make sure that you know that up front. There's always a message that's popping into the chat letting you know that start time is always going to be different. I know we have a ton of new people, so they don't really understand that. So if you want, you could just take that time and add 15 minutes to it. Usually you'll be safe starting right then. And if you are a couple minutes late, you can always rewind, because we do also offer rewind live. So great stuff tonight. We're going to cover a lot of it. But again, we have to make that announcement probably every couple months because people really don't get it. I also think that people are very impatient now. They're used to 30, 60-second everything. They don't want to hear anything. They just want to hear go, go, go. I honestly, I think there's tons of things out there that do that, but they usually have a staff of 200 doing all of the stuff to make sure it goes. We have issues. We have phone systems. We have all sorts of things that could go wrong here right before we go live. So that's why we always give you that window. All right. And then the Biden trip to Israel would have security and political risks. So a lot of people don't even realize that they're even talking about this. If you were, if you were in charge of everything, would you actually be sending the president over there right now? And I'm sure that was probably the wrong question. A lot of you would probably be like, yeah, I would send him in 2 seconds, right to the front lines. But would you really be sending our president to a hot zone during a conflict that is literally this sensitive? Dex, this is kind of crazy that they're even talking about, but it seems like something big is going on here.
It certainly is. And we said this is like the most riskiest time, but also if you're going to do it, you have to do it sooner rather than later because things are going to be heating up. It was also just announced momentarily ago from Blinken that it is happening this week. So we don't have any other details on that, but this is the risks involved, and there's a lot of risks with him going into this area. It is a very small nation; it's not very big. It's very easy. Like we just saw today with the Blinken meeting there, they had to get into shelters because the dome was going off because there was incoming rockets. So that happens at
Supposedly.
any time.
That
Supposedly. Well, but
the-
yeah, we also see that too, and we hear those alarms, and those go off too, and are reported as well. So we know that happens
On
there
CNN.
quite often. Yeah. So there is risk to this. That's the main point, and the fact that it seems like I don't know what benefit he would actually get from going there. Like he couldn't just pick up the phone and talk to them, but you know he's going to try to make an appearance.
Yeah, because they always do these BS like what is the point? Why can't he do whatever he's going to do on Zoom unless they're doing something top secret? Now, if he's doing something top secret, it makes perfect sense, and that's what's alarming some people because what can he not do that he couldn't just do on a Zoom call? Well, Zoom calls can be hacked. Zoom calls can be listened to. There's many more opportunities to come in and record that or to get in the middle of it. That's why they do a lot of in-person meetings. If they're doing something extremely top secret, they're doing it face-to-face behind closed doors. Other than that, what's the other reason? So he can take a photo op. Now, many people think that that's mostly the reason, right? These photo op things for approval ratings. But do you really think they care about the approval ratings of our prez? Do you think they really care when you know that half of the country's just never going to like the guy, and it's more than half? It's even people that put their thing in the box for him are even going, why did they even pick this guy? Any of the presidents throughout the past, really, if you look at it, our system is set up. Once you really wake up and realize that it's not really the president that runs the country, it's the corporations that helped fund his run. That's who really runs the country. These super PACs that put in these money, do you think that they did that without some sort of promise back? Of course not. And then those promises turns into laws and executive orders and everything else. And then there's, of course, groups ahead and above all of them. And they all are on each other's boards and they all make money together. Dex, go ahead.
And just imagine how emboldened the enemy will get if he goes over there, trips down the steps or up the steps, and then starts talking about corn pop or something like that in some vague, reference that makes no sense to what's happening. So, yeah, there's all sorts of reasons why I wouldn't do it.
I see a lot of there's hardcore supporters to the point it doesn't matter what mistake he makes. They go, oh well, he's old and he's human being too. We're all human. I get that, but there's a certain level that we hold the president and anybody that's in charge of nuclear missiles that we hold them to. And you could say the same thing about the previous president, the one before that, the one before that. The one before that had trouble. I mean, he had trouble forming sense too. George Jr., man, that guy, he was a whole nother. He has a whole book wrote about all of the gaffes that he made. So again, they pick these people. It's like a popularity contest of who people like. And people think that these photo ops and this approval ratings, that matters. No, it doesn't. What matters is their goals, whatever end goals they have for us and for the world. If their goals ran a road right through the middle class and right through the lower class and just ran us over and basically just deleted us, it would not matter to them. They will still make that road. They don't care if it goes right through our homes, right through our careers, right through our paths. Look at all the stuff that's happening right now. They don't care about us. And as I've said many times before, they don't represent us. These people complaining that they can't wear a $12,000 dress to work, these are not people that represent us. They wear what we drive to work. They wear it on a Thursday. Okay. So these people do not care about you. And that's just a fact. And once you realize that whatever trip he's doing, it's most likely because his crew, whoever's really, pulling the wires here, they're going to go in behind closed doors and they're working out another step of whatever the heck is going on right now. And right now, it is my belief and many others, and more every day, that we are now in World War III. It's already started. It started way before this, but it is now actually happening. And it's going to be hard to deny very soon. Even if this goes by the wayside, we still have China and Taiwan. We still have South Korea and North Korea. We still have all of these other countries that are about right at neck and neck at each other's throats. So this isn't going away anytime soon. Tell me what you think about it, though, in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you over on DLive, Aunt Jenny, Beer Juice, Poco Loco, Kiki Gray, Yobi, and Fractured Fusion. And, of course, Kimberly and Johnson and DFW, Jackie. Thank you, and thank you. All sorts of great people just joined. Thank you, Troy O'Brien. We have Bobby Sufrai. Thank you again for rejoining 2 days ago. And then, of course, Shin O'Brien. Thank you so much. And Ed Brown, thank you, and thank you. What's up, Vic? Thank you for the super. Says, imagine something happening to JB, and then we go into full-scale trip, and we got a lot of stuff over there now. Yeah, that's true, too. People think it's out of the question. I mean, we're going to talk about later. Shinzo Abe was taken out right in public with a homemade shoddy. The former prime minister of Japan. And then great-grandson made his appearance for the first time. I am now officially a great-grandma. Kay Parker Fraser, congratulations. And that is awesome to hear. Some positive news. And then Janet Ruth Haynes, thank you for your support. And then Leslie M, thank you, and thank you. Appreciate that, Leslie M. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about Switzerland being neutral? What a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Isn't that what they're supposed to be? Yeah, so Swiss is staying neutral. They're like saying, hey, we're not getting involved in this one. So just like they've done with, other events and other conflicts, but this one is one in which they specifically are saying, hey, we're not going to pick a side and we're going to continue to remain Swiss so that we can all use that term. We're going to remain Swiss. If they started picking sides, I guess we couldn't say that anymore. But yeah, they're not getting involved. They're not picking a side. They don't want to, I guess alienate either one of the supporters. I guess then that at the same time can also put you in a position where you get alienated by both sides, and you don't pick a side because one really wants you to pick. And if you don't pick them, even if you don't pick anybody, you're still against them. So it could be interesting to see how that plays out. Not that they have to necessarily pick a side, but we're going to start seeing, and I guess this is the important part, Swiss set them aside, unless you like a Swiss cake. Those are yummy. But set that aside for the moment and just take into consideration all of the other players right now that are in this. They are all having to, and they will take sides. Whether it's an Arab nation, like which we know is going to, or even Saudi, which we think is going to, because they certainly are playing the cards like they're lining up with it. Then you got to look at some of the allies that are there, whether it's Russia and China, which are huge with that first country, and if they back them, then you now have a lot of sides that are starting to be picked, and this will become very important if this conflict goes beyond just the actions and activities that is trying to take in the Strip. If it goes beyond that, which it's looking like it's about to, then the sides that people pick, or countries, I should say, and governments pick, is going to make a big difference in how this plays out.
And as far as other countries weighing in, I mean, they were already kind of siding up with the whole UKR/Russia. Now there's one more issue, and then you have kind of the overlap of, they support UKR, they support Russia, but they don't support this side or that side. Pretty much all of the sides that have taken Russia's side have taken Iran and Hamas's side, or at least so far, and then some have taken Some that have stayed neutral have literally done the same. And then, of course, some that have taken the Israeli side have taken the Israeli side. So it's like it's lining up. But now it is, again, another conflict that is going on that the U.S. is directly involved in. A lot of folks didn't really realize that. In fact, I didn't quite a few years ago as well, that Israel is a non-NATO ally. So this is outside of the NATO and Russia, UKR. This is a completely separate other war that now we also have on our plate, on top of the two that we've been talking about for years that still haven't even popped off yet. And things are getting worse in both of those arenas as well. The one way that China and Russia believe that they could win over the U.S. is if there is a two-front war between the U.S. and Russia and China at the same time. They accounted for that not just being against U.S., but against all of our allies, against all of their allies. They've done simulations time and time again. So this is not good for us. The fact that we are spread thin, that we're sending gear, we're sending money when we're having, talks of government shutdowns and all sorts of different, end of the bottom of the barrel warehouses popping up all over the place. This isn't a good time for us. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and one last point on Swiss, as we tend to think of them as being neutral, and they want to have that neutrality. They do make and support a lot of the financials and a lot of the investment. And if they don't, and I guess some are saying if they don't pick a side, they run the risk of not getting that. And it goes back to the point I made earlier about not picking a side is going to alienate both sides. And so that's a big part of their economy, is that notion of supporting financials and Swiss bank accounts, as we call them. Every pop the trunk, who's got a Swiss bank account? But these big oil tycoons, these big oil countries, these big investors or big countries themselves put a lot of money into Swiss banking.
Yeah. Do we even wonder why Switzerland has been this neutral for this long? The Swiss bank accounts hold all of the. I mean, everybody's heard of that for years. Even when I was a kid, even before I knew anything about what Democrat or Republican was, I knew what a Swiss bank account was, because in movies and in cartoons and in everything else, they've made it to where, the bad guy has a Swiss bank account. Every Bond movie has them transferring money to a Swiss bank account, and some evil Swiss guy with a monocle like, yes, we've got the money in account 445. We all know about that, right? And it's kind of funny because when you think about it, you really break it down. Why have they been neutral all this time? Probably because all of the richest people from every country have their money in their frickin' banks, and they can hide it and do their tax, loopholes and everything else. So I don't think it's that surprising that they're staying neutral on all of this. That's because probably all the rich people got together and go, oh, what's the one place we won't bomb? Oh, yeah, that place that has all of our secret money in it. And then before we talk about the US B-52 bomber to make rare landing on Korean Peninsula, again, this is something that Kim Jong-un has said specifically would not be okay with. I do want to remind you guys, go over to marfugglenews.com/EMP. If you worry about an EMP or even a Carrington-level event from the sun, or if you have been educated on what's all going on with those situations, then you'd probably know it's actually one of the most probable scenarios. We know that a solar event will happen. It's just a matter of if our grid is hardened by that time. Or an EMP is actually the most probable out of all the crazy disaster scenarios. It's actually one of the most realistic because it does not take any lives directly. It would take down our grid. And of course, the lives that would be lost would be due to the infrastructure that goes down. Now, if you don't want to be stuck 40 miles away from home, or if you don't want to be stuck at home and not being able to get out of the city, or vice versa, then you definitely want to have an EMP shield on your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, anything that drives this. They make one for that can basically protect it. Again, it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. And that includes all three phases of an EMP, or an electromagnetic pulse, and it actually protects against a Carrington-level event from the sun. Not only that, it can protect your homes, your generators, anything else from lightning strikes as well. So it's a triple protection, and again, now they have the EMP Shield Micro, which is 1/4 of the size of the regular EMP shield, so it can basically fit anywhere and has all the same protection. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you be helping us out with the commission, but you will also be, of course, getting yourself backed up, and you'll be helping your favorite news channel. Thank you guys, and we appreciate it. We are on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network. We have the Foogle fam. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about this? Is a big deal. We've already basically parked a submarine there, which was a big enough deal just parking it there that can launch nuclear missiles. Now they're actually putting a B-52 bomber there.
Yeah, it's not something we do every day. These things, there's only a few places we like to store them or base them from. But to have them land in the peninsula there is sort of it's definitely a rare moment, but it's also a sign. It's also making sure that they're putting out, a clear message to everybody, not just Kim, but also, China and Russia, because they're both right there next door. But it's definitely that type of statement, and it also helps reassure South Korea our partnership with them and our support for them. So whether it's the submarines that we've parked in the nuclear subs that we've parked right there, or docked, I should say, right there, and surfaced them so they can be seen, bringing in aircraft carrier groups into that area, or something as big as B-52 Stratofortress, which is, the plane that would be pretty much dropping some of the nastiest nukes ever if they were to be flying over those regions. So that's a big sign.
Yeah, and it's these B-52 bombers, and now here's one thing that people don't think about is the cargo planes. All of the regular cargo planes that usually ship huge tanks, or they ship huge military cargo. Those are now weapons as well. So if you are a flight radar watcher, watch the cargo ships. Those ones are the ones that I think people really should pay attention to. Anything that's public, of course, you can see they're moving those all around the world. That I think is interesting, because now they have the systems and these specialized missiles that can drop out the back of these cargo ships in mid-flight, and then these missiles can actually launch. They can launch a nuke from a cargo plane. Very interesting, especially given, too, that Mike Minahan, that runs the cargo, all of the military cargo shipped around the world, recently just took off all of the identifying numbers off of all the planes. The same guy who just a few months ago told his employees in a memo that to get ready for China and to go to war. I think he said by 2027. But how time is flying, I don't know if it will be that long. And then Vlad is to visit China to deepen no limits partnership with Xi. Dex, it's kind of funny. We just talked about this the other day, about how they said, how close they would need to be to really be a huge threat. And I'm like, they're already no limits partners. But if they are truly no limits partners, that means if anything happens to Russia, China is going to back them up 100%, and vice versa. So, there is no war that we would look at with Russia that doesn't involve China. So if we are truly, if UKR is not going to get funding anymore, or if everything's about to fail in UKR, then this could go really, really south. If you really look at what's happening. But yeah, they say that Vladimir Putin will meet Xi Jinping this week in a bid to deepen partnership forged between the United States. So at the same time, we've got Biden going to visit Israel, and then you have Xi meeting Vladimir Putin. Something big is about to go down. This is very, very obvious, and I don't understand it. How people are not seeing what's about to happen, I have no idea. Dex, this is the same time period, and they're saying that they're talking about the Belt and Road Initiative. I highly doubt that somehow.
Yeah, it's kind of a convenient, I guess, meeting for them. But we know that's probably not the topic at hand. And I don't know how you how do you improve no limits? I guess maybe they're going to say, hey, we're going to have the no limit partnership. So there's no limits on our no limits. But apparently they're going to get it get it together, and we know there's going to be something that comes out of that. We'll get the public talking points, which may be one thing, but there's certainly something else that's being planned behind the scenes. This is also the first time he has left the country. He, being Putin, has left the country since the criminal court, the International Criminal Court, issued that warrant for him back in March. So it'll be interesting. Not that China's going to do anything about it. They won't. But and not like he's taking a train through countries that are going to do anything about it. He's going to fly in. I'm sure he's going to fly in and fly right back out. But that's just a point of notation there.
And as far as Japan seeks to revoke the Unification Church's legal status after Shinzo Abe getting taken out by that homemade shoddy. Now, why is this important? A lot of people are not going to be paying attention to this because of what is going on in the Middle East. But at the same time, Japan is, and again, I've said watch Japan, and that's why I cover everything. Doesn't matter. I will not let this slide because I've been told to watch Japan for now 2 years. This is something that Japan is going to be a part of World War III. It is going to be a big part, just as if it was a big part of World War II. And besides a few people's theories about them possibly being, a flip-flopper and being our enemy, this time it will be kind of the opposite. They'll be they'll be on our side, which is quite a good thing considering how they fought the last war. But as far as the weird circumstances around Shinzo Abe and his death, there's a lot of weirdness. Now, most people don't know about what this church is about, but it has some weird theories, and we actually put some stuff together on this. Now, first of all, Shinzo Abe was taken out by a guy, and he made a homemade shoddy because it's very hard to access weapons there. And he made a homemade shoddy, and he got it close enough to where he took 2 shots, and he took out Shinzo Abe. He was behind him at a public speech, and Shinzo Abe, before that, his life's goal was to get Japan onto this path of being an offensive country, not just a defensive country, an offensive country. Now, Shinzo Abe was part of this church. Now, you may have heard the name Moonies. Dex, do you want to talk about what we found out about the Moonies and Unification Church are kind of one and the same, right?
Well, yeah, that's the term that I guess the older term that a lot of people used to understand them as is the Moonies. But this is the church, I guess, that was behind Shinzo. There's a lot of theories out there. And specifically, these are not our opinions. These are opinions of information we've gathered from others. So first off, I don't want anyone to think that we're making this statement. This is just the types of theories that have been floated around that church specifically. So brainwashing and mind control, specific political aspirations, of course, financial misdeeds, which I think every church has some form of that theory floating around over their heads. The notion that that moon, sun, young moon, is actually the second coming of Christ, so to speak, or so they speak. Let's say, of course, links to groups that are over there on one side, and that side would be right. And they call it the far. So a lot of connections with that. And then, of course, some other stuff with marriage ceremonies, etc. So some very interesting theories that are out there as far as what people may or may not believe about that. And I guess that's how it sort of ties back to what does this mean specifically with Abe, and why all of a sudden is the government trying to discredit or take away their legal status.
Yeah, and it says the church, known officially as the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, founded in 1954 by South Korea by Reverend Sun Myung Moon, aka where they got the Moonies from, right? A self-proclaimed Messiah and staunch anti-communist. Now, this had Christian beliefs or Christian kind of a baseline, but they said that he was the second coming, right? Or in some cases. The theories around this are really, really freaking weird, because if you think about how this guy ended up taking him out, this guy ended up saying that he took out Shinzo Abe because Shinzo Abe was a part of this church and a supporter, and he pushed this. And the guy who took him out said that his mom basically had all of her life savings taken by that church. So that was their official reason. But at the same time, right after he passed, within weeks of his passing, all of a sudden, it was like his life goal, which was to make them an offensive country. Everybody kind of shifted in that route. And now they are changing their constitution to become an offensive country, to get involved into wars that aren't attacking them. So their original rule was they had to be attacked for them to be at war with somebody. Now they are going to get involved prehand. They are now, they turned around their actual, the funds and their budget for military. Now they're in the top 10 military budgets in the world from not being anywhere close. They have now switched, and they are going to be proactive and progressive about actually being involved in military actions around the world. And not to mention, they're forming a new Asian NATO, is what the mainstream has coined it, with the U.S. and with South Korea. North Korea and South Korea, they all have deep ties. All of this has deep ties if you go back decades and decades. And if you go back to World War II. That's why I'm telling you guys, history is repeating itself, and people really don't see how it ties together because there's so many distractions and so much information that they really can't get down to the baseline of what is going on. Well, just to break down what I think that part of this church thing, I don't know if that taking them out is because there are groups that know what they're doing, but some even believe that the whole thing is that they are actually trying to live out prophecy, that they are trying to get a conflict started because they are trying to make sure that the biblical prophecies happen. Like some even go that far and think that this was because of that. And this was a very, very powerful church that got a lot of things done. It's kind of crazy to think about some of the theories about them, and really a lot of the religions around the world, especially some of the ones that have been started in the last 100 years, they've kind of got some wacky things going on with them. But one thing they all have in common, even Scientology and some others, is that they're powerful. And that's because they're powerful in numbers. So something's going on here for them to say that they're trying to take away their status as a church. And many of us don't care anywhere else on the world, but you have to understand all of these countries, the top people of these countries are all connected. So if you see them going down a roller coaster, it's most likely we are too. They're starting a huge Asian NATO thing with them. So something big is brewing. That much I know. We've attached this over on marfooglenews.com. It's pretty crazy. And then we've got El Chapo Sinaloa drug cartel bars and bans the fentanyl production under penalty of getting taken out by the cartel. Now, many of us are like, huh? Especially if none of us really know the whole makeup of all of the different cartels. We've heard a couple of the big ones and probably seen a couple Netflix movies with a couple of the backstories, right? But as far as El Chapo Guzman has now barred the production of fentanyl under penalty of death. It says the about face by the narco crew, the main trafficker of the deadly synthetic flooding in the U.S., comes as El Chapo's kids bow to a mounting law enforcement crackdown on the trade, the Wall Street Journal reported. The order came from the Chapitos, the name for Guzman's son, who took over the operation. You could look at this multiple ways. If you were looking at it in a Hollywood way, you could say, maybe is this because they know that if they keep selling it, the law is going to get to them? Are they going to try to go back to the old stuff because this kind of stuff didn't happen? Or is something else going on? Now, most of us have basic knowledge of, fentanyl really is originating either in China or there are some manufacturers down in Mexico. But a lot of this stuff is actually coming from China. So is something going on that we don't know about, and why all of a sudden are they, turning on a dime and saying that you'll actually get taken out if you produce this stuff? It seems very, very, very odd. What do you guys think? What are some theories that you have? Dex, does this make any sense to you? I really couldn't. I'm trying to come up with some reason this could be, why. I guess if these cartels usually just don't care if they care about making money, but maybe they care about keeping the cartel going um, longer instead of selling this stuff, which may have the world come down on them. I don't know though.
Yeah, that or maybe it's just a giant ruse, and they're just trying to make themselves look good in the eyes of, say, DEA or other organizations that are fighting against them, even from our own nation. One of those two. But who knows? Maybe they've got a heart. Maybe they're like, hey, we don't want to be part of that. But I suspect it's not. There's something else happening.
Yeah, and they're gonna send sorry cards to all the victims, to all like 200 million of them. Fenny takes out more people than car crashes and bang bang violence combined in the U.S. That's pretty insane. Really, yeah. Somebody says CIA. Yeah, why? Well, why would the CIA tell them to stop then? That's what I don't get. Somebody said, basically, China, something to do with China. But what? That's what I don't get. It has taken over every major city. If you look at any major city, you can watch documentary after documentary. There's this guy, Kevin, that lives in Portland. They keep showing him on all of these documentaries. My 17-year-old showed me this really crazy one where they took the guy from Portland, Kevin, the guy that knows all the Portland homeless. I think they did Portland is Dying or something like that. But they took him to all these other homeless communities, and they all look identical. Every metropolis is the same way, and it's all the baseline is the Fenny. Now, this is the weird part. If you say that whole word out, we even have Tommy over at the Lifeboat that does a channel, kind of dedicated to basically helping people with addiction and things like this. And they'll tell you too, that word is like a banned bad word. Why? You can say cocaine, you can say this, you can say that. You can't say that word without it dinging you. That's weird. Okay, that's weird to me. They don't want you talking about it. It's odd. And a lot of platforms are the same way. I don't understand it. But yeah, so what do you guys think? Give me your theory down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Why is that the case? And then let's see here. Texas Lawn Guy, thank you. Thank you for your support. You didn't write anything. You always can write a message here. Thank you. And then B-Roll Beast, thank you. Prayers. And then What's Up Vic, thank you. And K Parker Frazier, thank you. And then Meta confesses it's using what you post to train its AI. Really not surprised by this. And what's crazy is since everybody knows we're being spied on, tracked on, traced on, our fingerprints, our iris scans, nobody cares. And I don't understand. Dex, what are they doing? How are they using their information?
I think what they're doing is they're basically loading and training their AI platform with all of the posts that are out there on Facebook. So every time you make a post, anytime you comment, anytime you maybe even in DM, the conversations that they have access to, they're taking all of that and putting it into their AI system. Now, this AI system is supposed to be a conversational assistant that can respond to text queries and generate photorealistic images, but that sounds very much like ChatGPT. I think they're just building their own version of it. Everybody wants an AI apparently now, but this is like you said, like who didn't think this was not happening? They do all sorts of stuff with everything we post on Facebook. Why wouldn't we think they're going to use it to train AI? Interesting to hear them admit it, but certainly, also you can think about all the other things we think about these large tech companies are doing. They probably are.
Well, it's just weird in general. It's something is obviously going south for just in general everything. Somebody said it's funny timing on the Israel thing, since you made a good point. So as far as everybody was talking about how UKR and Russia was about to calm down because the weather in the winter was about to crush down and stop a lot of the fighting. So what would they cover? What would they distract us with? Now they can do year-round coverage of conflict, because if it's not in season, like a sports game or something, oh, well, don't worry, change to Channel 5. You got the Israel war over there. Oh, yeah, no. Right now it's off season for the Ukrainians. It's like there's constantly a war. Now there's going to be a hot war over there. It's just like they're going to keep that money pumping. As far as Meta goes, this is scary, the stuff that they're doing. And this is why this most important story tonight is probably going to be forgotten. And I bet you some of you might even admit it. You go, I just don't care. Hackers stole 1 million people's DNA. What they'll do with it is baffling. So also many other places that actually reported this really did it very quietly. Not to mention, they say they don't know what's going to happen with this, but if you've looked into the neurostrike technology, and LJ Eads, who actually called in, who is one of 3 analysts and former intelligence analyst that's actually looking into all of this. Actually, sorry, I don't even think he's former. I think he might be current. There's the 3 guys who have wrote those papers on this, and it's insane. LJ Eads actually called into one of our call-in shows after the neurostrike got a big coverage. But neurostrike is the ability to formulate something that either some sort of frequency or something else that could literally control minds. Now, DNA could be a part of something else as well, which is bio. The DNA being stolen is the most terrifying thing I've seen, because you're talking about in 2018, 2019, before CV happened, major busts were going on, and major whistleblowers came forward and said that they were doing bio weapons with DNA. And they were specific to what color we were. Now, they had evidence of China doing this, but every country is doing this. All countries have tested on this stuff. And this is like some really crazy sci-fi stuff that you can't even imagine them doing in real life. But not only is it happening, it very well could be one of the biggest things to happen in the future. We might have something. Imagine this. Something is released and it only affects certain people. Something is released and it only affects certain profiles of this, right? Certain profiles of DNA. That's a absolutely terrifying thought. Dex, as far as we've talked about neurostrike technology, mind control is no longer, putting a watch in front of your face and hypnotizing you. We're talking about actual mind control. They say it's no longer theoretical. It is now real. And they're not saying like, oh, you're going to do this or some mind trick. They're literally saying that they could switch your brain and make you sit down, make you stand, make you dance like a chicken, make you forget your name, make you forget how to eat, make your body and your brain forget how to breathe. They could literally take your life in a minute and 30 seconds. They could turn off the thing that always makes our brain breathe. That's the kind of stuff they can do with this. And they can do it remotely.
And not only that, not only can they create that, but they can actually encode the antidote to that so that only they have it. And so they can make it happen, and then they can leave you in that state and then offer you the carrot to resolve it and make you do something for that resolution.
What Dex said is absolutely something that is now fact. They talked about a key. They could put something in the DNA. They could also put something in a specific DNA that you could take. So say they have 25 million citizens from a certain country here. Before anything went down, they could give them basically like the antidote. They could send them some sort of thing that they take, and they could literally have the defense against something. So something releases some red dust out of the sky. And boom, all of a sudden, everybody's just dropping like flies or they're freezing in their tracks. But yet some people are just going business as usual. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Kind of like the Red Dragon red bracelet, only the bracelet would allow you to be completely unaffected and it would be permanent. Like, that's the kind of scary stuff that could happen with this now. The science behind all of this stuff is absolute. This is no longer theoretical for a reason. They have tested, they've proved that it's possible, they've proved that it's being worked on. That's what's freaky about this. And the 2, 3, and me, you could go deeper into the crazier facts that all of these things are connected somehow, that the person who's the head of that is also sisters with the person of this. You could go down all these crazy side routes. But when you just go to the main level of this, it is absolutely terrifying. And people really don't care. Just like when we found out that we were all getting tracked and traced, honestly, I am surprised that people did not basically cover every street in the entire United States. It's crazy that we rioted and did all this stuff for this thing over here or this thing over here, but we didn't riot when we found out that they were doing something absolutely illegal and just absolutely disgusting, and probably were watching you on your cell phone, watching you in your home, listening to every call, recording every message. People didn't care. I mean, they might have said, that's really stupid, but really it just kind of brushed over, and then people accepted it. Their best case scenario happened where people were like, yeah. How many people you know that say, well, I don't really care if they watch me. I don't really break any crimes. So if they want to watch me naked walk through my house, they can. Oh, go ahead. And they joke about it. It's a joke to everybody. And it's, to me, I think it's much bigger. And I think there are a lot of people that did care and it got them deeply. And those people are on probably some sort of list. And that's the freaky part about this. It's like, how are people not noticing that there are actual threats like this? And because it is so sci-fi, they don't take it seriously. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Humans leave DNA everywhere, skin, hair, spit. Yeah, that's true too. New Journey, explain why then. I would love for you to catch me up. And then your phone takes a picture every 5 seconds. By the way, we've covered this for now 3 years. We've covered it since 2018. I don't know if you mean I'm behind on this specific thing. This is, again, from yesterday, but you can actually go to marfooglenews.com and you can go back to 2018 and you can see all of the shows that we did. You can search any subject. In fact, we've covered this in detail. We've covered all sorts of things like the golden bullet, the bio race specific weapons. All of this we've covered for years. But now we have new news about this being stolen. So again, you guys, most of you already know about all of this. All right. And then Dex. Let's go over to the web only. We've got a lot of crazy stuff down there as well.
Yeah, we sure do. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. You will go to the webpage that has everything we just talked about, links to all of the articles and all of the sources for what we just covered. And then you'll find this yellow bar. It says overflow, the rest of the story. You can find the giant Rezvani tank. I think there's like 4 days left. If you guys want to enter to win, I'm just putting it out there. It's your last chance. I think there's 6 or 4 days, something like that. It's happening any day now. It's going to be over. So if you want to enter, click that link, go to the affiliate site there, My Patriot Supply, and you can enter to win that Rezvani tank. In addition to that, everything else that's going on, the rest of the story, we do have other stuff that's happening with the updates around the Middle East, specifically the trip for JB. It's planned, apparently, they're saying Wednesday. We'll see how quickly this gets pulled off. I say he's got to get in and out sooner rather than later, because the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to get. In addition to that, though, we've got all the other stuff that's going on, including some demonstrations on which sides they were demonstrating on in different areas around the world, as well as here in the U.S. Putin has some comments as well, telling Netanyahu that they're ready to contribute to stopping the conflict, but doesn't necessarily say that he's, how he's going to contribute. I think that's more just political posturing. Speaking of that, we do have some additional updates around China's and Russia as well. There's not a lot in the news around UKR. Imagine that, just like we talked about, everything's sort of gotten silent there because everybody's focused on the Middle East. But in China's world, there's a whole lot going on around the economy, and they're trying to blame it on the real estate. So if you're interested in that, we've got coverage of that as well. Of course, the political side is well covered. T-Man got another gag order again. This time, I believe it's against the prosecution as well as witnesses in that case. That Jack, I can't remember his name, Jack Smith, I believe, or the federal prosecutor that's going after him. So that's in there, and of course, updates with the current lack of a Speaker of the House, and they're trying to resolve that. So we got all that. If you're interested in getting a $1.4 million speeding ticket, head down to my state in Georgia. Gentleman got do a 90 and a 55, and they gave him a $1.4 million speeding ticket. I think the gist was to make sure that he shows up in court. You don't want to ignore that ticket. And then apparently people are now buying residential condos on cruise ships and just living on the water. We've talked about this whole notion of them creating floating places to live, these floating cities. But now before they get to that, people are actually starting to take that to the real practical use case that is in existence today, which is ships. And people are literally buying and investing in a condo in a ship and then living in it 365 days a year.
So, Dex, you and I talked about this the other day. There was a retired couple, a story that we covered a while back, where, and this is such a rip, and we have somebody in our family that is about to the point where she either needs 24-hour care or she needs to move into an assisted home, or at least needs to have people around. She's still independent, but and what's crazy is most of us have dealt with that one point in our life. But Dex and I were talking about this story where this retired couple went on a year-long around-the-world princess cruise. And they said it was cheaper. They said it was cheaper than going and living in a retired community. And what's crazy is it was better because they had their rooms cleaned, they had room service, they had food included, they had all of these things like literally budgeted in already. And they had, events and all sorts of things going on at all times of the year. So they said it was literally cheaper to live on a cruise for a year than it was to do a community. Is that stupid how our system is set up that retired communities are so expensive? You spend your whole life saving up money to retire, and then you get about 5 years in, and then you realize that you need almost all of it just to die. Dex, isn't that nuts?
It is. Well, here, there's a couple of theories on this in my mind. One, I'll give you the numbers. With this one that the current article goes to, I want to say it's $100,000 to buy in, up to $250,000 if you want a really nice room with a balcony, and that's your down payment. So think of it as like buying a house. You've sold your house that you lived in, so you take that money and you buy down into it. Now all you got to do is pay $3,500 a month. I know you go, wow, that's a lot of money, and it is to a lot of people. $3,500 is a lot of money, but at the same time, when you factor in, food and the roof over your head, housekeeping, everything, all you're paying is $3,500 a month. So if your retirement has budgeted for you to have that much per year or per month or more than that, and now you can get away with it for less, and you can live on a cruise ship and sail the whole world. I think it might get a little boring. Now, my other theory on it is this is also getting people used to the idea of living in a small box. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise ship. It's not like you're living in a 1,500 square foot home. You're living in like a 200 or 300 square foot room. So that notion of putting people in boxes is certainly one way of saying, hey, here's the luxury way of doing it. Let's put you on the ocean first.
Water world.
Get everybody used to it. Exactly.
Well, so a couple T said, oh, gross. cruise ships are filthy. I would never do that. So I would say, and then somebody else said carnival for life. I don't care. So I've never been on a cruise ship, but my one of my sisters actually worked for a fancier one, and she told me that she actually worked for two. The worst one, she said, was Carnival, and she said that is like the cheapest of the cheap. Those are always the cheapest rides, and I'm not saying because I don't have any personal experience, but she said just the customer service, everything about it was not her speed. Like she went above and beyond for customers, and they were like, "Why are you doing that?" That kind of thing. So I've never been on Carnival personally, but everybody says it is the cheapest, and if you look, it is physically the cheapest. There is a difference between that and say, like a Royal Caribbean cruise or a Disney cruise or something else. As far as being gross and stuff, one thing I would say, just from, I've been in, I've worked at a couple hotels, and it's no grosser than any hotel, and some of them actually get like new stuff every so often. It would probably be just as gross as a retirement community. Just saying. The retirement communities do these like huge wash bashes where they're washing your stuff with 50 other retired people that are probably having, incontinence problems. Dex, you've actually been on cruise ships before. Would you say it would be gross to live on one for a year?
I wouldn't go on a Carnival cruise ship for a year. I wouldn't go on it for a day, but that's my personal opinion. There's certainly ones out there, and there are some that you don't know of that are like smaller lines that are really, river cruising and things like that. That a lot of people talk highly of. I've not been on those, but yeah, it can be clean, but it can be scary too. It is like a giant floating petri dish of a lot of people. But if you got a lot of people that stay clean and they promote being clean, then it'll work. But again, it's getting people around this idea of living in a small box that kind of bothers me. But flip side is you get to see the whole world. 365 days, you're going to all sorts of ports all over the world, which would be very cool. I would think, but also I gotta imagine in your mind, it probably can get old quickly.
Yeah, I would think not being able to just, and then if you go somewhere cool and then you have to leave, it's like you'd actually want to settle down for a while. It's not like you have the choice to stay there. You just have to go, and you have to keep going and keep going and keep going all year long, going to the next place and not being able to stop. I don't know. I think it's everybody's. One person's trash is another treasure.
Yeah, but not to like promote this company. They haven't even launched their ship yet, but they do have an interesting notion. You're literally buying it. So when you're done, if you're retired and you want to live in it for 2 years, fine. And at the end of your 2 years, you can sell it to the next guy and it may be worth more money. It's a deeded like piece of property or a chunk of the boat is your room.
Somebody said that you would see hairy man chests and plumbers crack all year long. I've never been on a cruise ship, but I actually agree with you. That's what I see too. That's what I envision it like. And that's because all the videos online of like cruise ship gone wrong and cruise ship fights, it's always like some 450-pound guy like throwing somebody out of a sun chair or something because he wants to get a tan. Anyways, also, I do want to shout out real quick. I shouted him out on Marfoogle News as well. Make sure to go over and check out Jacob Israel. He did something really nice, and he said he shouted us out earlier, and that was really cool of him. But you guys know, we have him on the marfooglenews.com/friends page. But more so, everybody said, hey, he shouted you out on this one. This was a really good video he did. Where is it? Where's the latest one here? Weird. It's like gone. No, that can't be gone. Weird. I wonder if it got hit. I'll have to ask. There was a video that he did just today. Or maybe yesterday.
Live?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's right. It was live. That's why. I hate how they do that. You guys must have problems finding my shows too. Because if you go to videos, it will show you this 4 days old. If you go to live, it will show you what was down. Major news, changes about to, everything is about to change. He pulls in all sorts of crazy stuff into this. So make sure to go check out that video. Again, go subscribe to Jacob. Thank you guys. And then thank you if you came over from Jacob's. That was really appreciated. Thank you. All right, you guys. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys. It is now the end of the night. And you know what that means? It means it's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. All right, let's make a fresh one. And yes, we are doing faster shows because we are doing 2 shows. We're breaking everything up into 2 shows essentially. One that is, on the main Israel over on news, and then one that is on some of the rest over here. So it is, instead of doing a 10-minute show on news, we're doing like an hour show over there and an hour show over here. It will probably go back to the old style here soon. But again, you still get the same amount of time hanging out with the Foogle fan. All right. All right, we are going to shout out. Thank you so much over on D Live. Thank you. Kiki Gray. Thanks, Marf, Dex, and Mods. God bless you all. Scooby Doo Do Right. Thank you. Hello, Cece, Tartan Grammy, Kiki Gray. Thank you again. Beer Juice, and everyone that popped in. Thank you, Texas Lawn Guy. Appreciate your support. Sheepdog, she says, you, Marf, hold the line. Hey, thank you. And Heath, thank you. Sharon Davis, thank you. And Antonio Naftali, I believe you are the top supporter tonight. Antonio Naftali. Let's make Antonio Naftali a silly song of satisfaction or dissatisfaction to the world. Antonio. I got one on B and a LLCC on the right patch and the one on B. I say, oh no, I'm poco loco. I Joe that you know and Caro. Angel say, America, Argonaut and Randy Man. Everyone knows it's cool like Piper Lynn. I say, Schaefer, Carey, and a Kimbria. Lucky Marcelano and a Mrs. Shaw. I say, Donio, Antonio, Antonio, Donio, Antonio, 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 Donio, Donio, Antonio, 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 Donio, Antonio, Antonio. I say, Cameron, Alia, and Schaefer, Christine Bell, I feel radio, Black Sheep and Kato, then Karen, Mrs. I say hello, I